Hello and welcome to another edition of High School Roundup here on CUTV. I'm your host, Anthony D'Agostino, and alongside me is my twin brother, Stephen Ruffing, and his brother, Danny Beck.
I guess I just didn't get the memo today with the whole red shirt thing. It's impeccable. It's impeccable, honestly.
Hashtag Red Shirt Club, guys.
Yeah, you weren't invited.
Not me. It's fine. It's all right. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. But guys, it was a crazy week of football this past week. Huge rainstorm came in on Friday night, basically across the western portion of the state, all the way over towards Johnstown, and it caused a lot of havoc for some football teams.
Yeah, we had our CTV game of the week, and actually no, we didn't have our CTV game of the week. The field was a slop. We thought the game was going to be played, and then tons of points were scored.
Right, yeah. I don't know how. I thought it was going to be a 0-0 tie going into overtime, but the reason that we weren't able to do it was because umbrellas, where we were, the location was just bad. So we wouldn't have got any footage.
There were pictures from all over the Whitfield of grass fields just turning into mud pits, basically. And these guys, most of these players played through it. There were some games that were moved to Saturday, and Saturday was a pretty clear day, nice and windy, kind of cooled everything down as well. But we're going to go into the RCUTV game of the week. We did not have highlights for this one due to, as you guys said before, the umbrellas and the rain and everything at Bentworth. But Fraser coming with a huge victory at the Bentworth Athletic Field, 46-21. And Danny, just talk about this game real quick.
We thought right off the bat, both of these teams like to throw the ball, and Chris Pierce completed 7 of 12 passes for 268 yards. So they stayed with their passing game, and also with 4 touchdowns. David Lovis rushed 13 times for 147 yards and 2 more scores. So they incorporated both sides, and I think that was the big reason why they put up so many points.
Yeah, it was interesting to see Fraser coming up with a big victory. Fraser needed that win.
Oh yeah, definitely, and they got it against a Bentworth team, which we thought Fraser was the stronger team in that one. A little bit, like I said, a lot more scoring than we originally had thought.
Yeah.
But I mean, props to both teams playing through that and Fraser getting the victory.
Well, we're going to move now into the Century Conference scoreboards for you. As you see there, Best Center taking on Charleroi, winning 20-0. Washington over Burgettstown 41-6. And Steve, this is a big win for Best Center, 20-0.
Yeah, Best Center keeps their winning ways up. Big reason was Dominic Fundy had 219 yards rushing, and he locked up 2 touchdowns, getting them the playoff spot that they were fighting for all season.
And we're going to keep moving in the Century Conference here. McGuffey and Chartiers Houston went at it. McGuffey came away with the victory 20-14. Brownsville taking on Leechburg. Leechburg winning 35-34, and Brownsville just cannot catch a break, Danny.
Yeah, so close in this one. As you see there, 35-34. Jonathan Burtick ran for 1 touchdown and passed for 3 more touchdowns for the Blue Devils in Battle of Winless Teams. And Leechburg stopped Brownsville. Brownsville, which was trying to get this victory, they stopped them on a 2-point conversion to win the game. That's always a tough way to go out.
And we're moved on, but Best Center Charleroi game. The win was a week after Best Center senior Johnny Little was diagnosed with cancer. So they went out there. I totally missed that. So I wanted to come back to it, but they got the win for them, and best wishes, and hope everything works out.
Definitely. As we keep moving on in the AA conference here, the Century Conference is all wrapped up in the playoffs here. Washington, Chartiers Houston, Fraser, Burgettstown, and Best Center all have clinched the playoffs. Bentworth, Charleroi, and Brownsville have fallen out of these playoff contentions. And good for Best Center to get this playoff berth and continuing to fight for that kid with cancer.
And as you said, Steve, just well wishes to him. It'd be definitely cool for him to see his team still going on, cheering everybody back at home. But yeah, well wishes to him and his family.
As we move into now the Interstate Conference scoreboards, Yock taking on Southmoreland. Yock winning 20-19. And Derry continuing their winning ways, 38-0 over Waynesburg. But Danny, Yock beating Southmoreland by 1 point. Yet again, I believe it was a 2-point conversion that was missed that caused Yock to come away with this victory.
It was, and this is kind of foreshadowing the pick'ems, because this, over Southmoreland, but still, I think that Yock has what it How's what they're going to take as Steve kind of mocks me over here. Dustin Schoaf rushed for 109 yards and scored an 87-yard kickoff return. Ronnie Robinson had 163 yards rushing and scored all 3 Southmoreland touchdowns. And we saw Ronnie Robinson when Southmoreland played in Waynesburg, so we know his skill. But Yak just squeaked away with this victory.
As we continue on in the Interstate Conference, South Park beating Elizabeth Ford 29-6. And Steve, we're gonna talk about this game because if it was at Elizabeth Ford's home field, they might have actually came away with this victory. But South Park, their field looked almost like Bentworth's field. It was a slop fest there, and Elizabeth Ford was just not ready for it.
No, and it's kind of bad. Elizabeth Ford, they lost a playoff position because of this. In South Park, they got that playoff spot. So if those field conditions are turned, we might be seeing Elizabeth Ford continuing a playoff run in South Park, still having to fight for it.
As we continue on now, the non-conference in the AAA, Beaver taking on Mount Pleasant again. We saw this game before last year for playoff highlights. Beaver coming away with this victory, 26-6. McGuffey taking on Chartiers Houston. We've already mentioned it, 20-14. As we move on in the AA standings, guys, Derry's the only one that clinched so far, but we have these playoff scenarios. Danny, break them down real quick.
Yeah. So Derry, this team, I believe that they have what it takes in this playoff. Obviously, they locked up their spot, but if Mount Pleasant beats Southmoreland, they will grab the second playoff berth. And then I'm just going to keep running through these. If South Park wins over Yock and Mount Pleasant loses, they grab the second if they win. Yock would need to beat South Park and have Mount Pleasant to lose in hopes for tiebreakers to get into the playoffs. And then Interstate will most likely not get their third place team in the playoffs, with one of 2 wildcard spots being between the 3 AAA conferences.
Yeah, so you see there in your graphic, Yock is down there in the middle of people that have already lost the playoffs. Interstate Conference just got a little crazy, but Mount Pleasant, we're going to see this a little later, but they're taking on Southmoreland. If Mount Pleasant loses Southmoreland, that'll be the upset of the century, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, just even if it's the playoffs aren't like a question, that'd just still be a huge upset. Like even if there was it'd be the first game of the season, and that'd be a huge upset.
And we will move on now to the Tri-County South Single A here. Fort Cherry taking on Carmichael's. Carmichael's winning 16-7, and Avella beating Monessen 35-6. Guys, 2 games here. First, I'm going to mention Monessen. Monessen just can't catch a break anywhere. They've literally hit rock bottom here, 35-6 in that loss. But Carmichael's, they have now locked up the Tri-County South section victory with this 16-7 victory over Fort Cherry.
Oh yeah, the Mikes, they had 217 total rushing yards. Cody Brown, big factor in this. He ran for 1 touchdown, and Jonathan Christopher ran for the other to lead these Mighty Mikes, the Carmichael's Mighty Mikes, to the Tri-County South title.
As a big win for Carmichael's, their first Tri-County South title in a long time, and great for them to bounce back after a good program last year. Didn't do as well as they thought they would, and come back this year and win the Tri-County South. So we're going to continue on now in the Tri-County South. California beating Jeff Morgan 45-2. Jeff Morgan only scoring on a safety. As we move now into the non-conference for Single A, Jeanette shutting out Mapletown 48-0. Western Beaver showing they have a good team there, 33-14 over West Green. West Green dying off after some really good wins. But we're going to take a look now at the standings of the Tri-County South. 4 teams have clinched: Carmichael's, Fort Cherry, California, and Mapletown. West Green, Avella, and Jeff Morgan, they're all fighting for that spot. Monessen has fallen out. But Steve, break down these Single A playoff scenarios.
Single A, okay, so 4 of the 5 teams have clinched the spots already. West Green can clinch this final spot with a win over California. Avella, they would need to win against Summit Academy, and West Green would have to lose so that Avella can clinch that playoff spot. But Jeff Morgan would need to beat Fort Cherry and West Green. Avella and Monessen lose to make the playoff off Gardner points.
So basically, Jeff Morgan is essentially out. I mean, they're literally holding on to a single thread and a whole lot of prayers. But I don't know. This West Green over California. California beat Jeff Morgan pretty well, but this West Green is going to want to try to get back to their winning ways.
I was going to say, West Green, they've had some pretty crazy wins this season. You know, they helped me out, actually, the 1 week in my my 6-0 pick'ems. But, you know, I think they could do it. California's good. I think that's going to be a really good game, actually.
Only time will tell what happens in that game. But we're going to take a quick break right now. After the break, South Union Township highlights, Quad A, 5A, scores and standings, all that on High School Roundup on CUTV.
CUTV's High School Football Game of the Week. Springdale at Jeff Morgan. Avella at California. Bell Vernon at Ringgold. Greensburg Central Catholic at Charleroi. Waynesburg at Southmoreland. Baldwin at Connellsville. Beth Center at Brownsville. Fraser at Bentworth. Bishop Canavan at Carmichael. The longest running high school coverage in southwestern PA is on CUTV.
CUTV News Center is California University of Pennsylvania's award-winning student television newscast. Your source for live, local, late-breaking news. Forecast from the CalU Weather Center. The region's latest entertainment news. Vulcan sports highlights and regional scoreboards with television news coverage you can't get anywhere else. Watch it live Thursdays on CUTV and on demand. CUTV News Center. Online all the time.
And welcome back to High School Roundup here on CUTV. It's hashtag Red Shirt Club Day, except for Danny. Me and Steve wearing red shirt, Danny not.
Well, not only just red shirts, the exact same shirt.
Oh, yeah.
You got a CalU logo representing
Representing
CalU.
University.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't
It's
know
all
why.
It's all good. But we're going to get right into the highlights, guys. Laurel Highlands, they took on Thomas Jefferson. And Steve, it was as what we thought it would be.
Yeah, it wasn't an upset. I'll just say that. These two teams, you know, TJ, that's the big team that I always say to look out for, and then LH, you know, emotionally invested into these highlights that I do every week. So we're gonna check them out now. TJ just, you know, it was David and Goliath here, and this time Goliath came out with the win. But we started off by 11-yard run by Quentin Hill. Now look at this. He has a couple defenders trying to drag him down. They weren't sure if it's a touchdown, but he did, in fact, get in. But LH coming strong on defense. Ian Edenfield, a big linebacker there, gets the sack and the fumble recovery. And you can see the weather conditions played a big role in that game. Then you see Quentin Hill again, this time doubling his last run with a 22-yard run as he cuts and shimmies his way through the defense and scores again. Now watch this. LH, they didn't score this game, but Will Karwatsky, he explodes out of the pocket and gets a 50-yard run. But as you see, the TJ defender just catching right up to him, dragging him down. TJ trying to get back on the board with a 40-yard pass from Bobby Kelly to John Mulbauer. Just a beautiful catch right there through some defenders. And again, right here, Bobby Kelly back to John Mulbauer, a 48-yard touchdown. Look at him just going right through those defenders, and some great blocking by TJ. And then to wrap it up, TJ scored one more time with a 28-yard run by Justin Vigna. Now, both sides of the field here, I mean, just throwing and running the ball, the Jaguars did everything they could to get a big victory against Laurel Highlands, 51-0. But that first quarter, it was close. It only ended in 14-0. And Laurel Highlands, they kept them to 7. It was only 7-0 for a majority of that first half. So LH was strong.
Yeah, LH was strong. They just they couldn't come away with the victory. But you know, credit to them to never give up, never give in. They fight for every yard, and you know they try to get those points. But Will Karotsko on that run, huge
explosive.
run. And the defender just caught up to him. It looked like he was just running out of gas as he got to the 5-yard line, as the defender for Thomas Jefferson got him. But that would have been a huge score for Will Karotsko if he would have actually made it in the end zone.
Right. I mean, this Laurel Highlands team just doing their games like doing the highlights. They aren't a bad team. They just have something that doesn't click there, and they are a strong team. They always play whatever team they're playing against. They always play them 110%. So that's what I like about this.
Not to mention their tough schedule.
Oh
they were
my
just
gosh,
dealt
yeah.
a tough card this year with
Right.
the amount of talent in their conference. That's tough too. That's a bigger part.
Well, we're going to move now into the Big Nine scoreboards here. As you see, Albert Gallatin winning against Uniontown 26-20, and then Greensburg-Salem winning 27-0 over Trinity. Danny, huge win for Albert Gallatin over this Uniontown team.
Yeah, a huge win is an understatement. That ended a 31-game losing streak, the longest in the WPIAL. Uniontown came back down 26-6 and appeared to have tied the game when Anthony Brown caught an 80-yard touchdown at the last second, but it was called back for holding. You never want to see those, a big play being thrown back. I know Cal's experienced that a few times this year at college, but it's tough to see that when you thought you had the lead and then got called back.
Well, it's going to be interesting when Laurel Highlands has to play Albert Gallatin this week. But now going into the Big Nine, West Mifflin taking on Bell Vernon, and they came away with a big victory, 26-9. Steve, big win for West Mifflin.
Yeah, West Mifflin continues on beating a good Bell Vernon team. That was Bell Vernon's first loss on the gold turf. Russell Tyree had 117 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Then Big Dorian Johnson, the one that holds the blue ribbon play, 93-yard pick six. Of course, that couldn't get onto we'll talk about that later. But just Dorian Johnson, athlete. That's all you have to say, just a sheer athlete.
We're going to take a look at the non-conference for Quad A. Ringgold beating Newcastle pretty big, 41-27. As we now look at the standings for the Big Nine, everyone has clinched in the Big Nine. Thomas Jefferson, West Mifflin, Bell Vernon, and Ringgold all have a playoff spot locked up. Greensburg-Salem, Trinity, Albert Gallatin, Uniontown, and Laurel Highlands have all fell. However, there actually was some movement going on in the lower part of that standings as there's some people flip-flopped up and down there, with Albert Gallatin actually coming away with the victory over Uniontown. But they're just playing for pride right now.
Right. Yeah, and those are the 4 teams that we all kind of figured that would be there. And of course, Thomas Jefferson staying at the top. I don't think anything's going to change there.
Yeah, and they play West Mifflin this week though, so that's going to be huge. And if TJ can win over West Mifflin, then they clinch the title outright. Yeah. So it's going to be the big game. Could it happen this year, Steve?
Well, see, West Mifflin is like TJ's little brother. Like it's just there's like, hey, come on, can I play? And they're like, no, this is the big dogs, and the first place spot is for the big kids. So that's how I feel about this.
You're the most knowledgeable because I haven't seen those 2 teams, so you have all the right to throw that.
We're now going to move into the Big East scoreboards here, the 5A scoreboards, as McKeesport coming out with a victory over Gateway 34-19, and Penn Trafford beating Kiski 27-3. Danny, dealer's choice. Which one do you want to talk about?
This McKeesport team coming over Gateway, a guy carried 17 times and rushed for a career high 178 yards and 4 touchdowns. McKeesport overcame a 13-point first half deficit. So coming back from a deficit like that and taking a victory over Gateway, it's a big win for them.
We're going to move on in the Big East. Armstrong defeating Connellsville 60-7. Latrobe losing to Plum 41-24. Danny, do you have any news on your dude Zane Dudek?
I do. I was hoping you'd throw that last one to Steve so I can talk about Zane Dudek. I didn't want to take anything away from Steve. But Zane Dudek moved up to number 3 on the WPIAL's all-time rushing list and moved within 68 yards of breaking the WPIAL full season record. So he can do it.
He can do that one run.
That's what I'm saying. If anybody can do it, he can. Dudek rushed for 237 yards and 3 touchdowns on 15 carries. He's not touching the ball much, and he's putting up those numbers. Like, that's unheard of. He has 2,698 yards on 253 carries this season, which increased his career total to just an absurd number of 6,730 yards on 675 carries. Dude is a freak. He's an animal. I don't understand. And I saw an article this past week. He's not getting looks from D1 schools.
Yeah.
He's not. And I mean, he got a look from Penn State this past week, but to come up to the Ohio State game actually.
Yeah.
But he's a leading rusher in the WPIAL, and that's saying something.
If D1 doesn't want him,
D2.
California wants you right
Yeah,
now.
seriously.
Come here.
Yes, please.
As we continue now in the non-conference portion, North Hill is losing to Franklin Regional 35-20, and Steve, just Franklin Regional is showing that they're a good squad against this tough North Hill team.
Yeah, Simon Bear and Stephen Jones, they teamed up to run 2 touchdowns each for the Panthers, and Bear led all rushers with 140 yards on 24 carries. Not certainly St. Dudek level, but still a solid game.
As we now look at the standings for the Big East, Armstrong, McKeesport, and Gateway all have clinched. Plum, Coniston, and Latrobe have fallen out. But Danny, I'm going to send it back to you. Break down these 5A playoff scenarios.
Let me get over to them real quick. 3 of the 4 spots have been clinched, as you can see on your screen there. Franklin Regional can clinch the final spot with a win over Gateway, or if Kiski loses to Armstrong, which I'm gonna pray. Ben Trafford can clinch the win over McKeesport and have Franklin Regional lose to Gateway. Kiski can clinch a win over Armstrong and have Franklin Regional and Penn Trafford lose if those happen. And if all 3 lose, Penn Trafford could clinch with a win over Gardner, or with more Gardner points over Franklin Regional, and have head-to-head win over Kiski. So it's a lot of contentions could happen, but see what actually does happen.
That Big East is a tough conference to play in. Interesting to see who will come away with those playoff spots. This coming up next week. But again, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have our upcoming schedules for the last week of regular season play here in the Whippeal, our pick'em, and the top 3 plays. All that on High School Roundup on CUTV.
CUTV's High School Football Game of the Week. Springdale at Jeff Morgan. Avella at California. Bell Vernon at Ringgold. Greensburg Central Catholic at Charleroi. Waynesburg at Southmoreland. Baldwin at Connellsville. Beth Center at Brownsville. Fraser at Bentworth. Bishop Canavan at Carmichael. The longest running high school coverage in southwestern PA is on CUTV.
CUTV News Center is California University of Pennsylvania's award-winning student television newscast. Your source for live, local, late-breaking news. Forecast from the CalU Weather Center. The region's latest entertainment news. Vulcan sports highlights and regional scoreboards. With television news coverage you can't get anywhere else. Watch it live Thursdays on CUTV and on demand. CUTV News Center. Online all the time.
Welcome back to High School Roundup on CUTV. As you see on your screen, we're going to go into the schedule for the last regular season game of the for Whippeal here. Tri-County South on October 28th, California at West Green. Jeff Morgan at Fort Cherry. Monessen at Mapletown. And then in non-conference, Bishop Canavan at Carmichael is CUTV's Game of the Week. And Avella goes to Summit Academy. As we move in now to the Century Conference, AA, Brownsville goes to Charleroi. Chartiers Houston at Fraser, Best Center at Washington, Elizabeth Forward at Burgettstown, and Riverview at Bentworth. As we move on now into the AAA Interstate Conference, Yock at South Park, Derry at McGuffey, Mount Pleasant at Southmoreland, Southside at Waynesburg, and then already Elizabeth Forward at Burgettstown. As we now go into the Big Nine, Trinity at Ringgold, Thomas Jefferson at Albert Gatlin, Greensburg Salem at Uniontown, Thomas Jefferson at West Mifflin, and then Ambridge at Bell Vernon. But real quickly, Thomas Jefferson, West Mifflin. This is crazy. This is a big game. Biggest game in the Big Nine so far.
That's like one of the biggest rivalries in Western, or in the Whippeal, really. These 2 teams do not like each other.
And we go now into the Big East, October 28th. Kiski at Armstrong, Latrobe at Connellsville, Franklin Regional at Gateway, McKeesport at Penn Trafford, and Plum at Fox Chapel. And Danny, real quick, McKeesport at Penn Trafford, that's a big game for both teams.
Yeah, and even for the entire conference, there was so much contentions that we were talking about in the 5A. So if one of these teams loses, that could change the destiny of another team. So all these teams really, if they want to get these wins, they have to come out onto the field and play their best football every single down.
And now it's time for the pick'em. Scott Majeski leads 4-2 this week, 36-12. Matt Hagee jumping all the way to second place with a 6-0 this past week. He's 31-17, tied with me. I went 3-3. Zach Prosman moving up in the rankings as well. He's went 5-1, 30-18. Clinton Logan fell in the rankings quite a bit here. He went 3-3, 29-19. And Danny Beck goes up here at 4-2, 28-20. He's tied with Gary. They both went the same record. And Jody High Roller is still pulling up the rear there, 3-3, 23-25.
Oh.
I think this is the most
I still have a
interesting.
chance.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's what I'm saying. It's the most interesting bracket. I mean, I guess you could say standings, whatever. Being that, other than Steve, he's the only person that isn't positive in that entire bracket. 28-20. That's the lowest behind Steve or in front of Steve. Like, you can get back into this. You can get back into this. If some people slips up in some picks,
I just need everyone to go 0-6, and I need to go 6-0.
Well, we're going to take a look at what our pick'ems are. Best center, I picked it's Bishop Canavan over Carmichael's, and so did Clinton Logan. Danny, Steve, you all picked Carmichael's. You guys think Carmichael's going to ride this victory?
Oh yeah, Mighty Mike's all the way. But did you mean to pick best center or Bishop Canavan?
No, I meant Bishop Canavan. I didn't look up top. I saw BC. But no, I think Bishop Canavan has a chance against Carmichael's. But we'll see. As we move along here, Chartiers Houston at Fraser. I'm picking Fraser. So is Zach. I think that Fraser's going to ride this big win over Bentworth over Chartiers Houston. But I also need to make up some points as well. Maybe try to, I got nothing to lose. If I'm not first place, I'm last. So we're going to keep going here. As Yock goes to South Park. I'm picking South Park after their last win. But Danny, and you picked Yock.
I did, and I said that last. Actually, we're changing around. This is unheard of. There's a lot of picks that are changing all of a sudden for whatever reason. I guess Matt didn't want to be with me, whatever. No, Yock after their
And
win
Scott,
last week.
and Scott,
yeah, I know.
whatever.
It's like
Because people, I mean,
Come on.
you know
I
who
need to
Yock
make
is.
some. I need to make some strong moves, dude. Come on.
All right.
As we continue on here, Thomas Jefferson at West Mifflin. Everyone's picking Thomas Jefferson in this one. It's at West Mifflin, so who knows? It's a big rivalry game. As we continue on here, Franklin Regional at Gateway. Steve, real quick, why'd you pick Gateway?
Jody High Roll of the week.
All right. As we continue on here, McKeesport at Penn Trafford. I will never pick McKeesport again because they have messed me up in the bracket many times. And every time I pick them, I lose. And every time I don't pick them, I lose.
I'm with you. I completely understand. They have some weird wins and some weird losses.
Scott Majeski going to McKeesport, but I will stay Penn Trafford, as does Danny and Steve and Clinton Logan. So that'll be interesting as we continue on now. The top three plays, that's right. Danny, we're going to lead off with number 3.
Yeah, this is going to be Thomas Jefferson, Steve's highlights, and Justin Vigna right here. A big run right up the middle, shedding off some defenders there, shaking one guy, getting into the end zone for a 28-yard run.
Now this, here we have John Milbauer's 48-yard screen pass touchdown. He's not touched by a defender with some fantastic blocking and some fantastic running there from John Milbauer.
And for number 1, Quentin Hill. Look at this, 11-yard run. He gets stopped there at the 5-yard line, but he continues to hop on one leg and gets into the end zone. That is your number 1 play. But will it unseat Dorian Johnson? No, it will not. Dorian Johnson with a punt return here. Doesn't look like he's going to pick it up, and then just picks it up and runs with it. Dorian Johnson has a chance to be the blue ribbon play the rest of this season.
Yeah,
barring
seriously.
Any amazing plays next week or the playoffs.
Well, he must beat it. Let's say we use that highlight of that 93-yard interception. I mean, he broke way more tackle. I mean, he had a chance to beat himself.
And real quick, I want to just mention why I didn't put that highlight in. And there was nothing against the play itself.
Right.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
The person who was running camera was inside, and it just didn't look great because it had the press box and everything there. But it was a great run there and a great job with the camera work. Just the press box kind of got in the way of the shot there. But Bishop Canavan at Carmichael is CUTV's game of the week. It's going to be interesting to see Bishop Canavan. I haven't seen Bishop Canavan in a very long time on CUTV. But real quickly, wrap it up your thoughts, guys, on this last regular season week of Whippeal football.
I'm excited for all the shakeups that could happen, that could potentially happen.
Yeah.
This West Mifflin and TJ game, I know that, Steve, you're going to be back. Actually, you're going to be in Virginia.
Yeah, I'm going to be
You're going to Virginia, but I'm sure you're going to be following that. I'm going to be following that one at our game even.
Big time.
So it's going to be a good week for high school football.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's going to be a good week. Thanks again for watching. We got the Red Shirt Club here, me and Steve, red shirting it again, and Danny back over there with the black shirt. But it's all good. Sometimes it happens like that. But thanks again for watching, everyone. High School Roundup on CUTV. Again, tweet us at CUTV_PA, hashtag HSR 2016. If you have anything you'd like us to possibly put in the show regarding some Whitfield football. But again, thanks for watching. Thanks to my analysts here, Danny Beck and Stephen Ruffing. Thanks to our director in the booth, Gary Smith. And thank you to the Sports Information Grad Assistant, Matt Hagee, for all his help. He's been helping me a lot with graphics and whatnot, and helping Gary in the booth. Thanks again, Matt Hagee, as well. Thanks again for watching High School Roundup on CUTV. Stay tuned. We'll see you next week.